Welcome back, everyone, to the Builders Coach Show. I'm your host, Jess, and I'm here with Kurt. Kurt, how are you?
Very good, thanks, Jess. Yourself?
Yes, good, thanks. So, guys, this is the podcast where we go through challenges, success stories, and just relevant topics for builders out there. So if you enjoy this content, please don't forget to subscribe and like. But let's get into it. Kurt, today I want to talk about something that I think is really important. It's everything related to the pre-construction phase.
Love it. Well, it is very important. It's just not a strong enough term for it. Like, it's the most important part of the build process by far. Hugely significant.
So let's get straight into it. And maybe my first question for you is, what is the biggest mistake builders make when handling new leads, and how is it actually costing them?
Right. So it's a quick and easy answer, right? It's not having a sales process. I worked with a guy years ago. His process, he didn't have a well thought out sales process. And by the way, a sales process is the single most powerful process or system that a builder can put in place, all right, for a number of reasons, which we'll get into. But this guy, what he was doing is every inquiry that came in, he was getting phone calls from people. He was a regional builder, and he'd go out and see everyone. And they were doing a lot of work. They were busy. He eventually employed a sales guy, then another sales guy. So there were three of them, him and two guys. Every phone call that came in, they were booking a time and a place to meet with these people, to go to site, to talk about the job. Fast forward to after we put a sales process in. He had first port of call was a questionnaire. So when someone called in, he'd say, look, in order for me to help you best, I need some more information. I'm going to send you a questionnaire. Please complete it as best you can. Once I receive that, I'll absorb it. Then I will call you. We can have a meaty conversation about your project, right? He then had various other steps which we won't get into, but turned up on site, well prepared. If he hadn't already eliminated them, the number one rule of sales is to qualify. So if they're not relevant to the type of work that he did or his specialty, he would politely refer them on to someone else. Long story short, he doubled his sales and got rid of both salespeople.
Wow. Yeah.
He did it himself. He didn't need to, because a good sales process qualifies unbelievably well. So you're only speaking to people who are high quality and relevant to your specialty. And the conversion rate was huge.
Yeah.
So a very high percentage of the people that he ended up meeting with on site, 70, 80% converted to contract, which was significant.
Yeah, it's really important, because at the end of the day, it's a lot of time and effort and just money wasted on just unqualified leads.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we spoke about financials just before and how important it is to have a scoreboard for the business, to know your numbers. And it's a day one conversation with all our private clients. But the second thing that we get into is a sales process, because of its ability to, help the builder select the right clients, job types, and that obviously impacts margin and cash flow, but also to ensure they don't waste, 1 minute of their time. And, guys are wasting hundreds of hours a year speaking to the wrong people.
Yeah, awesome. So apart from the sales process, there's other steps in the pre-construction phase. So how can the pre-construction phase help builders make more money and prevent project disasters?
Okay, so we always talk about marketing being selling in advance, right? So the step one protocol with marketing is deciding what their specialty is, right? And ideally, you want to chase the margin, then the revenue. So know what are your most profitable jobs, all right? What suburbs in your location as a residential builder are the more favored locations or suburbs for you to work in? Where's the money in your area? And, what specialties, like luxury custom homes, for example, or green homes or smart technology. And then you could layer those on top of each other, right? So this is all pre-construction. This is really identifying, where is the profit? What are the most profitable jobs? And then positioning yourself in that market as the go-to builder in that space, right? So again, if you're layering, it's custom architectural builds on the coast, Hampton home style, maybe, if that's a thing in your area, and then introducing green technology, so green homes, that are Hamptons on the coast that also include smart technology.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do that with tiny houses, with it goes on and on, but that would be an example of layering, and all of that lends itself to higher margin. All right, which ultimately, if you boil it down to first principles, you're adding more value. You're finding a way to become the Mercedes-Benz and add more value. When you add more value, you make more money. And this is how you get your margin up. But it doesn't just happen to you organically. You can't. People don't just turn up to your front door and go, "Hey, I want to pay you." You've got to literally make decisions. You got to seek out the market and the money, the margin, and then once you've done that, you chase the revenue.
Yeah. I think that pre-construction phase also really sets the scene for what's coming afterwards, right? And I'm thinking in terms of communication and managing expectation from the client perspective of the client.
Absolutely. Onboarding your clients, using a client collaboration agreement, helping them understand that you have to run the job according to the contract. But no one's going to read the contract. At best, they give it to a lawyer. They pay him to read it. He's got to, convert it over to freaking from Latin and hieroglyphics over to what our language. You can do that for them. Say to them, hey, these are the things that are important to ensure the job runs smoothly, like getting your selections in. By the way, we've got Erica over here who's going to help you with that, and she's got an offside interior designer that can also help, and a color selections person. So you're helping people understand what's important at the pre-construction phase to ensure their job gets delivered to the standard that they want, so they get the outcome they want. And then you have a team that helps facilitate that process as well. There's the job scheduling. There's not only positioning the client, but your team, your subcontractors, having trade agreements in place so that they understand what's expected from them and setting the standard. But as the owner of the business, you got to set the standard. We spoke about it on a pod recently, right? Yeah. Too many guys, and again, in their defense, they just get caught up in the busyness of running a business, and they don't take time out to think about, okay, what do I want to achieve, with my business, and why? Why do I want to do that? The even more important question, which is, ultimately your business should serve your lifestyle. Right, so you need to think about what sort of lifestyle do you want to live, and then what's your philosophy in life. All right, like I like just to share my philosophy. Libertarian, I believe in small government, and minimalist essentialist. Right, like quality over quantity. Not only in the things that I purchase and buy, I believe in experiences over things. Buy real estate, like assets that appreciate in value and are cash flow positive. But I value experiences with family and friends, and then having those relationships with the right people, the quality of those people. So, and then based on that philosophy, you develop your lifestyle, and then you can think about, okay, what business, what niche is going to best help with that. So not enough people stop and think it through clearly enough. But that starts with your marketing. That's pre-construction. If that's done well, it then lends itself to a sales process. When people come into the sales process, if they've been educated, and marketing, again, selling in advance, positions them for who you are, your expertise, the relevance of that to them and what they want, it makes the sales process like an onboarding process. Just onboard the clients, really.
So you talk about value management. Yeah. So what is it, and how can builders use it?
Okay, so we've been talking about charging for quotes since 2008, and we're at a point now where more than half the builders that we see are doing that, all right? So it's tipped the scales, and it's fantastic to see, because what it means is if the builder's using a quality estimator, the numbers are accurate, that's good for them, it frees up time, they're not doing all the crunching the numbers, it's good for their clients, it's good for the industry, it's raising standards, fantastic. Value management is optimizing that process. So all it is a one builder tender process. So most builders, they'll go into a tender situation where the client, who sees themselves as the prize, goes and gets, they look at 10 builders online, they meet with 5, they choose 3, they get quotes from 3, and they pick one, the best one. A value management process is the builder getting involved with the client early on, very early on. So most people go to an architect or designer first, and then once they've got a design and their hard documentation, like their engineering and everything done, they'll go to a builder to price it up. In a value management situation, you would work with the builder and an architect or designer at concept stage, at early stage, right? I was speaking to a builder this morning. I was telling you off air, right? He had a recent situation where at concept, so we're talking about a SketchUp. Someone's got an idea in their head of the type of house they want to build. So we've been through this process, right? We've designed a house where you do a SketchUp before you start doing, hard documentation, right? And getting everything drawn up for the construction process. He was able to find a $900,000 discrepancy, right? In a job that was less than $3 million, they were $900,000 off at concept. Okay.
Wow.
So there was work they needed to do, but it was early on in the piece. So they could change the footprint of the job and make some changes so that they were going to finish up closer to the client's budget. So there's a value management process. There's 3 steps. There's looking at the footprint. There's looking at the architecturals next, the doors, the window systems, the polished concrete floors, whatever it is. And then there's the selections at the end. But it's the builder and the architect and the client collaborating on what it is they want. And then the builder bringing their expertise in terms of costings to ensure that they align the budget with the eventual spend. And I honestly believe this is the next frontier. This is the area and we have select builders that are working through this value management process very successfully. So I'm talking 2 years, no competitive tenders, just a one builder tender process. And it's great for the builder, obviously, amazing for the client because they don't get any nasty surprises.
Yeah.
And it's great for the architect because they don't have to go through that tender process, which is time consuming for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a win-win situation. Also, that's what you want, right? As a client, if you and I, we designed the house, you kind of want someone to guide you in terms of, how to do it, basically. Otherwise, you might just put your wildest dream onto paper, and then it comes out and it's just millions and millions over your budget.
Yeah, well, if you leave it to an architect, in their defense, they don't understand costings, right? They're not dealing with suppliers and architects every day, and they are artists. So they're just going to unleash, their creativity on the design without taking into account costings. And in many areas, the costings have run away from us, and there's been inflation's a real thing off the back of the pandemic. So keeping that in check is a huge value add. So going back to first principles, you're adding value, you're helping someone. And it's interesting because I know most builders get their inquiries through referral, right? So referrals are good, but that includes referrals from architects. So we have a lot of guys who work hard at seeking out and then nurturing relationships with the right architects and designers. When I say the right architects and designers and architects that have quality documentation, good turnaround time, people that they can relate to, that have values alignment, and they actually enjoy working with, right? When you take the time and effort to do that and you build a pre-construction team, including engineers, designers, color consultants, everything else, that's massive for your clients. The value that you bring, and then those designers and architects will say to their clients, "Hey, we work in with Jeff. This guy, he's amazing. He's going to take us. So you want to spend $2 million on this build? It's a forever home. We'll work with him to make sure that you get what you want, and that's all you spend." Yeah. Unlike some people, they find out during the build. Once they've dug a big hole, they find out it's not a $2 million build; it's a $4 million build. I mean, when I had that example, it was $2 million. No, it wasn't. It was $7 million. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's dream crushing, right? Then what do you do next? That's horrible. Okay, so value management, definitely like a big win there.
Massive, and the new frontier, right? The next level. I want to be talking to you. I reckon it'll take 4 or 5 years, and then in that future time, talking about how builders are all adopted value management. Every builder's specialized in a certain area, and then he's offering a value management process which benefits everyone, including the industry.
Yeah, awesome. Another question for you. I want to talk about the biggest pricing mistakes that builders do.
Yes.
What are they?
There's a lot. Okay, so let's go through them. All right, so first up, the margin's too low, hands down. We know that. There's a big problem, like not understanding markup versus margin. And we had a podcast just recently on the numbers. Go have a look at that if you want to understand the 5 key numbers every builder should be looking at. But Margin is important. So minimum 20% margin, which is 25 markup, right? Regardless of the type of work you do, just as an absolute, you have a duty of care as a builder to your clients to be financially sound, right? So that's important. And then cash flow is another conversation. So the margin being too low is one thing. The other thing is not costing themselves in. So any builder who's listening, if you do any supervision or project management, you're involved in any capacity in running the job, you need to cost yourself in at an hourly rate weekly allocation. Yeah. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to replace yourself. So that's another thing I see. And what else was there? There was definitely
who, not how.
Oh, right. So so labor costs is another one. Not allocating the labor costs correctly. So not only themselves, but hourly rate weekly allocation, and then trying to factor in overheads. So you don't need to cost or allocate an overhead to a job. You can't ever do that accurately. The only way an overhead allocation to a job will be accurate if you do the same number of jobs and the same volume of work every year, which virtually no one does, right? So going back to our 25, 10, 15 conversation, if you're achieving a 25% gross margin, which our private clients do, and your overheads are 10%, well, then you're paying that 10, you got 15 left. So you don't need to factor in overheads. All you need to do is get the costings accurate, okay? And that's materials, labor, including yourself and your team, and subcontractors, okay? So if you get to that point, then you need to obviously put the margin on top, and it needs to be the right margin. They got to hold the margin on delivery as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So even if you get all that right, then doing the quote, most guys are busy, right? Everyone's busy. Then you're doing that, burning the midnight oil, doing it late at night, then you make a mistake, you leave something out. And I hear it time and time again. It happens a lot, right? So who, not how? Like you said, find someone who is better at quoting than you, who understands the numbers. Now, I know we live in a world of mediocrity, right? You want to run your business like a meritocracy, and seek out people who are really good. We've got 3 that we use that are exceptional. Yeah. 3 companies that they know the numbers. I don't care who you are as a builder. These guys, they do more quotes than you because that's all they do, and they understand the numbers. And if you work with them, then one, they're going to do most of the grunt work, and 2, the numbers are going to be accurate.
And it goes back to charging for quotes also, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. If you only charge someone what you, and then pass that fee on to a quality estimator to price the job accurately, then that's fine because of the conversion rates, right? 60 to 70% of the people that pay you for a quote will go to contract. Yeah. So it's a loss leader in that. Obviously, you're going to spend a little bit of time and energy on it, meeting with these people through the sales process. But it's a 60 or 70% conversion, and the numbers are accurate, which is liberating, right, from a headspace perspective.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Thanks. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover from the pre-construction phase today. Did you have anything else?
Yes. Anyone listening, just like if you're unsure as to everything that we've spoken about, and is the pre-construction phase that important? Of course, I think any builder is going to know that the pre-construction phase, programming your jobs is important. You don't want to sign a contract today, start tomorrow. It's just a nightmare, right? So planning, preparing, positioning the clients, selecting your clients, the job types, your margins, everything, the pricing that we just spoke about is so, so, so important. But there's a book I want to recommend, and I'll just get it up because I want to make sure guys get it right. The book's called How Big Things Get Done, and it's written by a couple of guys, Flyvbjerg, it's Bent, Flyvbjerg, and Dan Gardner. And it is all about the pre-construction phase and how important it is. And they go through projects all over the world and give real-life examples of how they absolutely screwed up and also got it right. Yeah. And it's a fascinating read. At least 60% of the projects or examples are construction-related in the book. Awesome. Great. There you go, some homework for you guys. That's it. Thanks, Kurt, for all your insights, and we'll see you in the next one, guys. Look forward to it. Thanks, Jess. Thanks, everyone, for listening.